After its successful debut at the Jewish Museum Vienna in 2019, the Austrian Cultural Forum New York is proud to bring you 3 with a Pen. The 3 illustrators, Renee, Bil Spira, and Paul Peter Porges, have put outstanding things onto paper, revealing caricatures and loving portraits, satires on society, comics and documents of horror. Born in Vienna and expelled from their homeland after the so-called Anschluss in 1938, they were forced to assert themselves elsewhere. During their flight, imprisonment, and afterward, they also used their skills as artistic weapons. The 3 are equally survivors and exceptional artists. To prevent their works from being overshadowed by their biographies, the exhibition presents their works and their lives separately. As a child, Renee loved to draw under the dining table in her childhood home. Here her imagination unfolded, and she created mythical creatures and magnificent robes. While still a pupil, she refined her technique at the Academy of Fine Arts. Barely 20 years old in New York, she applied her skills to a commercial field that was quite new to her: superhero comics, especially those featuring graceful young women fighting the fascist powers. Germany and its allies, Italy and Japan, made her a star of the scene. As a freelance artist, she created surreal paintings and textile designs, children's books, and fantasy motifs up until a few years ago. Bil Spira was a gifted portraitist throughout his entire career. With just a few strokes, he was able to capture the characteristic features of a person. The use of blank spaces as formative elements made him a master of reduction. His political oeuvre from the interwar period has a prowess no longer found in later, time-critical caricatures and in his work for magazines. An ironic, affectionate view of the world runs through his entire body of work. Paul Peter Porges drew comical scenes depicting current and fictional events. Over the years, he confidently moved through the styles of American cartoon aesthetics. He mastered the ranges from subtle humor to anarchic nonsense and the major entertainment trends in between. Among other accomplishments, this allowed him to be published in 2 very contrasting, high-profile magazines: The Intellectual New Yorker and The Subversive Mad. Wilhelm Bil Spira came from a social democratic family. Early on, he used his drawing abilities as a medium for social criticism. While fleeing from the Nazis, he forged papers for the US journalist and escape agent Marianne Frey in Marseille, helping many persecuted people survive. In 1942, Spira was extradited to the SS and subsequently survived several concentration camps. His drawings from this time are irreplaceable contemporary documents today. After his liberation from Theresienstadt, he moved to Paris, where he reunited with his wife, Mina. But the family bliss lasted only for a short time. A few years later, she committed suicide. Despite his terrible experiences, Spira held on to his optimism and humor. His autobiography is full of comical wordplay and scenes of a picaresque novel. Renee Wilhelm grew up as an only child in a middle-class household near Schwarzenbergplatz in Vienna. Theater, music, and ballet were part of her everyday life, but the annexation of Austria into Nazi Germany soon put an end to this sheltered existence. Rescued by a Kindertransport, the 17-year-old had to find her way with an English family. In 1940, Renee was reunited with her parents in New York, where she made her own living as an illustrator. After 2 short marriages and working on comic strips with her second husband, Eric Goltz, she married Randolph G. Phillips, who later became the father of her children. Renee visited Vienna once with him, but she no longer felt at home there. Wilhelm, she said, means I want to go home. For her, New York has become the closest thing to home. On the occasion of her 100th birthday in May 2021, Lily Renee came to visit 3 with a Pen in person. Paul Peter Porges grew up in the working-class district of Vienna Fünfhaus. After the so-called Anschluss, he escaped the Nazis as a 12-year-old on a Kindertransport. In France, he lived in the Children's Republic of La Gouette for about a year. Thanks to the progressive education taught there, he gained confidence in the world and in himself. Once the German invasion put an end to the children's home, Porges then managed to survive concentration camps and escape to Switzerland. After the war, his new life began in the US as a cartoonist, husband, and family man. He married Lucie Eisenstab, a fashion illustrator from Vienna, and enjoyed living in New York while maintaining his identity as an uprooted, intentionally eccentric European. The married couple often came to Vienna for visits in later years. Seemingly reconciled with the city from which he had been expelled, Porges caricatured Vienna with mild mockery in his drawings. In 2000, the Jewish Museum Vienna dedicated an entire exhibition to Paul Peter Porges. With wit and courage, the 3 with a Pen showed what is and what should change, what should be ridiculed, and what should not be forgotten.